Welcome to a historic edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 59, Hill versus Santos. We cannot wait. We got to jump right into it. Yes, we had a shout out on the predominant podcast, the best podcast in the business right now, the Dogger Pass podcast. If you're not giving those boys a follow, at Paul Shaughnessy, at Cody Safdie, make sure you do. They crush it each and every week, and we appreciate the shout out, especially and I appreciate the legend Max Roscoff going on their podcast, actually being a really, really great guy. I knew some of his family members. I was able to talk to him a little bit, and he's just a genuine guy, man. And so if you didn't listen to that podcast, make sure you give it a listen. If you did listen to that podcast, and that's why you're here today, welcome. And if you're always listening to this podcast and making money, welcome back, baby. We had a great card last week. We had Oliver Locks and Brandon Moreno hit. We had Orion Koski hit, and we did try to pivot after the weigh-ins and go to Amanda Nunes, and she hit as well. So instead of the general 2 locks, 2 total rounds, and 2 underdog plays, we had an extra lock in there, and of course one of the overs missed just because Anthony Smith broke his leg. You can't predict that. And we did lose on Kim, as most people in the business did. But Cody Safdie earlier in the day mentioned all these fat guys in their basement that crush it. That was us last week, and we're hoping that it's going to be the same way this week. And as promised, because we're so hyped, because we're so excited for today's pod, we're going to go ahead and honor the Dogger Pass podcast. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do a shoey. Now, I know the traditional shoey, you're supposed to spit in there. Not the biggest fan of that, but you know what? We're living live today. We're living large for the people, baby. Got to crush it. So, God, it's so gross. The whole concept of a shoey is gross. Probably because I'm not Australian, but fuck it. A lot of foam. Fuck that up. First ever shoey. What are you gonna do? Hopefully, picks are gonna be a little better than the shoey just was. So again, you're here for the entertainment, but mostly to make money. So let's hop right into the card here. 12 fight card, not a crazy fight card in all honesty, but it is the Ultimate Fighter finale. So a lot of good reads here, a lot of dogs probably this week, a lot of just heavy favorites that shouldn't be. So let's go ahead and start with favorites that I don't think particular should be the favorites. We have Stephanie Ager here, and this line is flipping nonstop. Last time I checked, I had Stephanie Ager at -120, Mayra Bueno Silva is the dog at +100, over 2.5 set at -210, under 2.5 at +170. Let's go ahead and start with Stephanie Ager because I don't think she's particularly very good. I know she has a judo background. She has a judo black belt. And if you're good at judo for some strange reason, you're good at arm bars. Like, that's not just the ground. Arm bars in particular is where you excel. And wouldn't you know it, her last fight, she won via submission with an arm bar. Go figure. And the fight before that, beating up on poor Shayna Young, who I don't think is UFC caliber. The loss to Tracy Cortez, that's a tough debut in the UFC, in all honesty, and she only had a few fights up to that point. So, all in all, I do not think she's the worst fighter in the world. Don't hear what I'm not saying. She is a good wrestler with her judo black belt. Her jiu-jitsu is just fine. Her striking needs a little work, in all honesty. You've seen it in the Tracy Cortez fight, was predominantly on the feet and not the greatest. You saw it against... you didn't see it against Jessie J. Rose Clark. She just went straight at her and tried to grapple. And Jessica Clark isn't exactly a grappler either. So I don't know what that game plan was. That was awful. She will have a 2-inch reach advantage here, which I love reach advantages. But if you don't really know how to use it, it doesn't really matter. And from what we do see on the feet, again, a lot of these fights are taking place on the ground with her judo pedigree. Nasty hip tosses. She will get it down there, but not a lot of volume when she is on the feet. So I don't know. Her striking is very hard to judge because you haven't seen it a ton. But from what I saw, I wasn't overly impressed. But let's not get confused. Mayra Bueno Silva does not have the greatest striking either. It's okay, but she has that Carlos Felipe striking where she just smacks her face and tells you that didn't really hurt when you hit her in the face. I am not the biggest fan of that. I can't stand that. You're basically telling the judges that it did actually connect. I mean, she probably lives, breathes, and sleeps MMA, knowing that her girlfriend, Gloria DePaula, is also in the UFC. All in all, she is really, really good jiu-jitsu. That's where she's best. The issue is she can't wrestle. So as good as her jiu-jitsu is, we never really see it because she can never get it down there. That's my biggest issue with her. And the other huge thing is that she's a 125 pounder. When you look at most of her fights, yes, her last fight against Yanan Wu was at 135, but Wu also fought at 125 for a little. Her fights against Manon Farrow, like Manon is a killer. That is a very, very tough fight, especially someone that wants to just strike. But again, that was at 25. Montana De La Rosa, 25. Varela, 25. I don't like her up at 35 as much. The thing is, she does march forward. She probably has the higher output, and she has, I would say, the striking edge. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of her striking, I've seen enough of it to know that she's at least competent in that area. And if Egger wants to take her down to the ground and use her judo, I do think Silva's a better practitioner. So, God, I don't trust Bueno Silva. I don't like her gas tank. I don't like her striking. I just think it's a little better than Egger. So we're going to start the night with a dog. We're going to go straight to it. We're going to go Bueno Silva as the pick, and then we'll go ahead and honestly bet Bueno Silva, and she's going to end up being one of the dog plays of the night, unfortunately. And then I do apologize for the delay for whatever reason. I'm having a little technical issues, but we're going to get through this. Next fight of the night, we're looking at Corey McKenna at minus 225 going up against Miranda Granger at plus 190. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 210. The under 2.5 at plus 170. Let's go ahead and start with Corey McKenna because, like most people, she let me down in her last fight against Elise Reed. She looked awful. She had bad cornering. She thought she was winning the fight per her corner over with good old Team Alpha fail. I don't know, man. All in all, she's 23 years old. She's going to continue to get better, but I bet I bet her against Kay Hansen, and I thought Kay Hansen won that fight. I think Kay Hansen got screwed a little bit. All in all, Corey has pretty decent wrestling. She has pretty decent striking. She has good cardio, and she likes to move forward. So she is very appealing to the judges with a lot of volume, with a lot of wrestling, and with a lot of forward pressure. Again, octagon control is part of it. So all in all, she's a decent fighter. I just don't think she fights like she's 23. You can see it a little bit. And she's not, I wish she would leave Team Alpha Male. But I mean, for right now, it's okay. But on the flip side, here's the crazy thing. I don't think Miranda Granger is good, but I am very, very, very concerned about this 10-inch reach advantage. That is huge. I just said 10 inches is I just said that reach advantages are something I absolutely adore when I'm betting someone. If you're giving me a dog with a 10-inch reach advantage, it makes me auto bet it. However, I did mention one of the biggest things in Corey McKenna's games is the wrestling. Granger sporting a 40% takedown defense. That's not particularly good. And she can get stuck on her back when she gets down there. I mean, we saw it time and time again. We saw it against Ashley Yoder. She did not get up. And Ashley Yoder cannot wrestle to save her life. Ashley Yoder can't really strike. They're basically the same fighter in Ashley Yoder and Miranda Granger. The only difference is when Ashley Yoder got on top, Granger could not get up. And Yoder took her down twice. That's concerning. If you get taken down twice, and one of them was a head and arm choke or head and arm throw, that's not the greatest. All in all, her striking is decent. I would say it might even be better than Corey McKenna's. It's very close, but McKenna has the more volume and forward pressure. So all in all, I love the 10-inch reach advantage. I understand it's women's MMA, so you could take the dog, you can take the shot on the dog, but I just can't do it here. When it's wrestler versus when it's wrestler versus striker, you always take the wrestler. So the pick is going to be McKenna, and the bet is going to end up being Probably the over. I don't see a finish on this fight at all. Over is only at minus 210, and you have the over for McKenna at minus 225. Give me the over. Corey McKenna's not exactly a potent finisher, so that's the route we're going to go there. Then the next fight of the night is probably one of the greasiest ones on the card. We have the Vanilla Gorilla, Jason Witt, at plus 185, going up against Josh Kulian at minus 215. Over under set at 1.5 because it is a Jason Witt fight. Over 1.5 minus 155, under 1.5. Sorry, over 1.5 minus 155, under 1.5 plus 125. Let's take a look at Josh Kulian first, just because it is his UFC debut. Yes, you saw him win on the Contender Series. He looked like an absolute stud. The only problem was he was on the sauce. Yes, he popped for PEDs and took a 9-month suspension. So it's going to be kind of easy to look like an absolute stud when you have a little bit of an advantage. Speaking of advantages, he will have a 2-inch reach advantage here, and he does know how to use it. Power is the first thing that comes to mind with this guy. You look at all of his professional wins, all finishes. He has a rear naked choke in the 3rd round, which I love to see because that means he was still there and working. Same with the fight before that. He won via knockout in the 3rd round. Love to see it. Carries the power over. And then he has that one-hitter quitter stuff in him as well. 1 minute, 30 seconds. 30 seconds straight. I mean, even his amateur career, a lot of round 1 finishes in 1 minute and a minute 17 seconds and 37 seconds. Like, this dude hits you and he hits you hard. He has a win over Ryder Newman. It's probably the most notable win, honestly. Ryder Newman used to be on the Ultimate Fighter 2 seasons ago. He was all right, but Ryder Newman is a wrestler with a suspect chin, and that's exactly what Jason Witt is. I also know that Kulian trains with Vanderlei Silva, and he's part of that camp. I'm not the biggest fan of that camp, so he has all the pros. On his regional scene tape, I did see him taken down a few times, but he had good hits and he had good sweeps down there, and he knew to get right back up to the feet. So even if he does get taken down, he showed that he had a good get-up game. It was not someone on the level of Jason Witt that he was wrestling with, but in hindsight, I did see him get up. On the flip side, as already aforementioned, Jason Witt is a wrestler and a wrestler alone. He has striking that is non-existent, volume not good, on the feet extremely hittable, 35 years old, so this is the final product. There's a lot of negatives with Jason Witt. The good news is he's a phenomenal wrestler, a former D1 wrestler, and is at Glory MMA, home of the champ Brandon Moreno, and of course, everyone's favorite coach, James Krause. He has that going for him. If you could be good at one thing in MMA, it's wrestling, because you dictate where the fight goes. And even if you're the worst striker in the world, if you can take them down, their strikes off their back is going to do absolutely nothing. So he has the one thing you want. The issue is that I would say the second most important thing is cardio, maybe even more important than wrestling is cardio. I would go cardio, then I'd go wrestling, then I'd say a good chin. Jason Witt might have the worst chin I've ever seen in my life. This dude, just look at his record: knockout loss, knockout loss, knockout loss, knockout loss, knockout loss, choked out, knockout loss. Jesus. All of his professional wins, he's been finished, 2 of them by submission, all of the rest by knockout. The man does not have a chin. It only gets worse the older you get. So he's fighting a power puncher. The good news is it's Josh's UFC debut, and there is a Dana White Contender Series fade angle, something that Clint loves to use over at Die Hard MMA, and he broke down stats on how it works. I want to do it. I honestly want to bet Jason Witt just because of that angle, but I can't do it, man. Jason Witt has no chin. The pick is going to be Kulian. I don't hate the under, because you can cover yourself just in case Jason Witt does get a submission after he takes him down. But he could get, I mean, Matt Semmelsberger just clipped him in like 10 seconds. God, this is one of the toughest fights. I can see Dana White Contender Series getting out-grappled. It has it written all over it, but I can't, in my right mind, bet someone named the Vanilla Gorilla. I mean, Jason Witt and Chase Sherman. I can never put money on either one of those men. So the pick is going to be Josh. The bet is going to be the under. Give me plus money. If I think Josh is going to do it, it's going to be early. So give me the under and at least give me a shot at plus money. All right. So the next fight of the night, speaking of unders, We have Terence Mckinney at minus 850 going up against Eric Ghost Pepper Gonzalez at plus 600. Over under, it's a McKinney fight, 1.5. Over 1.5 at plus 180. Under 1.5 at minus 220. We said his name a million times, and it looks like this bout order changed a little bit, so we'll just hop right into the McKinney one. We said his name a million times. So McKinney, man, he is a phenomenal wrestler and no one knows it. The reason no one knows it is because when you look at his record, you see a whole slew of knockouts. The guy hits like an absolute truck. Knockout, knockout 7 seconds, knockout 1 minute, knockout 17 seconds, knockout 16 seconds. Choke in 40 seconds. He rear naked choke, 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Good for Bobby. Knockout, 7 seconds. Submission, 43 seconds. Submission, minute 30. Submission, minute 30. Submission, 2:15. The man does not, he's never won a fight outside of the first round. And that's why the over-under is set at 1.5. But there's a reason he fights that way. And the under, just so you know, is juiced to like minus 230 the last time I checked, minus 220. The reason he doesn't fight into the third round is because he doesn't have cardio. We saw it in the Drew Dober fight. He came out and rocked Drew Dober with one of the stiffest knees I've ever seen. It was very awkward. It wasn't a flying knee. It wasn't like he caught him catching in. He like threw this really awkward forward knee and it rocked Drew and it put Drew out. Then continued to drop Drew. But the problem is when Drew got back up, Terence McKinney had nothing left. The dude gassed in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I will give him credit. He did take the fight on short notice. So if you already have suspect cardio and then you take a short notice fight, you go balls to the wall and hope you just take him out early. And he almost did. Most men would have been out. Drew Dober has a little bit of a chin, so he has a big ass chin actually. So, but all in all, rambling on, this dude's wrestling is underrated. This dude was wrestling with Michael Chiesa. I believe Chiesa was one of his high school wrestling coaches. The dude can grapple, and the dude's good on the ground. He has good submissions. Like you saw 40-second submissions and 1 minute and 30-second submissions. He can knock you out or he can tap you out. He dictates where he wants it to happen. The only thing is it needs to happen early. And he has all the inspiration in the world with Diana Belbita. So if he wins, I think the tweet said if he wins and then he fights Patty and wins, she'll date him. They're probably already dating. Who cares? Who gives a fuck? Next, we look at Ghost Pepper, Eric Gonzalez. And this is what kind of concerns me. When you look at Gonzalez, you look at someone who's been knocked out one time in their entire career, but it was his last fight against Jim Miller. So a lot of activity over in Combate America. He's fought good people. He's fought Rafa Garcia. He's fought Danny Ramirez. Like he's fought decent competition over there at Combate. The only issue is like, I can't say he does anything good or anything bad. I expected him to look a lot worse when doing fight tape, but his striking didn't look bad. His wrestling looked better than I thought it would look. Granted, he wasn't fighting the greatest wrestlers over there in Mexico. They're not exactly known for their wrestling. He's also very hittable. That's not good, especially against someone that cracks. And even though he's only been knocked out once, I did see him cracked and dropped a few times. So there's this thing where people are notorious for being durable, but if you see them being durable, it's because someone's beating the absolute shit out of them. And sometimes they get dropped a lot. And eventually that chin gets cracked and they go out and they just have it no longer. We see it time and time again. These guys that keep getting dropped and then eventually go out. Eric Gonzalez kept getting dropped in Combate. And then he went out last fight against old man Jim Miller. So if that chin is actually compromised now, he's in a world of hurt fighting Terence McKinney. So I didn't even have to do a breakdown, in all honesty. I didn't even have to do fight tape. When you see a Terence McKinney fight, you bet the under, you keep it moving. So the pick is Terence, the bet is going to be under because you do not touch him at minus 850, minus 1,000. Do not touch that. Just take the under. It's a McKinney fight. It's only going to last a minute tops anyway. Then the next fight of the night, we're actually going to go backwards because it kind of had me in a different order here. We have Takashi Sato as a plus 210 dog going up against Brian Battle at minus 250. Over under for this is set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 155. Under 2.5 at plus 125. This is a weird fight, man. Let's start with the Ultimate Fighter winner, Brian Battle, just solely on the fact that I've never seen him at 170. I don't know how this is going to look. I mean, you look at him here. He's not the biggest guy in the world. he could probably make 170. 15 pounds is a big cut. But I believe he could do it, especially he's still only 27 years old. He's someone that's just on a roll right now. He had a loss in his second ever professional fight and then has been winning ever since, never looked back. He's kind of what you call a generalist. I mean, he is good striking, he is good wrestling, he has good jiu-jitsu. He's not great in any facet of the game, but he's not weak anywhere. He's just good or okay across the board. I would say the best thing he has is his cardio. His cardio, he never stops working, and he wears on you. We saw it in the Ultimate Fighter against Andre Prochowski. We saw it against Tresean Gore. We see him just continually work and never stop throwing, and he throws a shit ton. He has a super high volume. He does have a 4-inch reach advantage. I love that. He knows how to use it. He doesn't have a lot of power. He's not very threatening. So if you believe in your power, you can kind of walk through his shots and then try to take him out. Let's not forget that Gore did crack him and did have him on skates for a second. But he popped right back up. He was perfectly fine. But, I mean, one of those could put him out. And that's my only concern because Sato isn't as bad as people think. And Sato cracks hard. I would say he has the same amount of power as Tresean Gore. What if he doesn't pop back up this time? Because Sato, yes, he's lost a few fights in a row. He lost to Gunnar Nelson, who's very underrated and a phenomenal grappler. He lost to Miguel Bieza, who's a little overrated, but a phenomenal grappler. He lost Bilal Muhammad, who used to be underrated, but is a phenomenal grappler. I mean, there's a reason he lost to these guys in the UFC. He's a striker, but when he hits you, he makes it count. Ask Jason Witt. It took him 40 seconds to put up poor Jason Witt's chin. It took him 40 seconds to take out Jason Witt. He took out Ben Saunders in the second round. So they gave him 2 chinny guys and he capitalized. They gave him 3 grapplers and he struggled. So what do they have in Brian Battle? Because they gave him a generalist. He's just good everywhere. I don't know. And I would say that Brian Battle is not the greatest wrestler in the world out of anything. That's probably where he struggles the most. He's averaging like 1 a fight. That's all he really goes for. But Sato is a 60% takedown defense. It was against good grapplers. Miguel Bieza, I would compare his wrestling to Brian Battle's. So I would probably say if Bieza could take him down, Battle probably can. But I don't know. There's a lot of what ifs, but Sato is low volume to where Battle's high volume. Sato is a little hittable because he throws so little. And his jiu-jitsu is a little questionable and Battle's is just okay, but it's better. So I would say on the feet, Battle has more output. On the ground, Battle's a superior grappler. And when it comes to wrestling, I would also give the edge to Battle. So Battle has all of the key points to win. I'm going to pick him to win this fight. The last thing I'll say is Sato looks like 2 different fighters when he's going backward and when he's going forwards. When you push him backwards, he looks very uncomfortable and he's just a punching bag. When he's going forward, he doesn't look half bad. And Battle has a tendency to move backwards. He likes to counter strike and he likes to just paw at you with leg kicks and jabs. But that 4-inch reach advantage might be all he needs. So the pick is going to be Battle. The bet is going to be Battle. Minus 250 is not the absolute worst, but it does make me feel a little uneasy. So be cautious of it. You should also be cautious of this next fucking fight with Michael Olszewski at minus 600. That just sounds gross. Doesn't sound right. Going against Sam Alvey at plus 450, that part sounds right. Sam Alvey, let's just say over/under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 165. Under 1.5 at plus 135. Let's start with Smiling Sam because this is probably going to be his retirement fight no matter what. I mean, could I see him going to like bare knuckle boxing or something like that? I could. But the dude's 36. He has 6 children. He's probably not, in all honesty. He's probably done after this fight. Team Quest still says the thing you're going to want to see about Sam Alvey is the fact that you look at all the red on the screen. Lost to Brendan Allen, got killed. Wellington Turman, sketchy. It says split decision loss, but Wellington actually won that fight. He lost a point, so he gave Sam a chance with the split decision, but without that point deduction, it's unanimous decision loss. Julian Marquez got killed. Daung Jung, he won. He got screwed over on that one with the 10-8 in the 3rd round, so I'll give them that. Ryan Spann, also a little questionable. I can see it both ways, but it is what it is. Clifton Abreu, he got killed. Jimmy Crute, he got killed. Nogueira, he got killed. So not the greatest run there. It's not like he was fighting absolute killers. Spann and Jung aren't bad, but Marquez is all right. Wellington Turman's ass. Brendan Allen's actually pretty good. And so I don't know why that was his last fight. He's going the wrong direction in level of competition. All in all, Sam Alvey is a counter striker. He is the definition of a counter striker. He will never go forward. He will never push the pace. He is someone that wants to sit back, and every time you throw a punch, he's going to throw a counter left hook. That's all he does, literally, to a T. That's all he does. That makes him extremely hittable. That means he doesn't have a lot of cardio if all he wants to do is counter generally, and he does slow down in fights. We saw it in his last few fights. The longer it went, the more he gassed out. His jiu-jitsu is not good at all. He can't grapple. The good news is he's a phenomenal wrestler on the defensive, just sprawl and brawl, baby. 82% takedown defense. Very underrated in regards to his wrestling. So he's very tough to get taken down, which he needs, considering once he does go down there, it usually doesn't end well. And his sneaky power, man, for someone that looks like this, he has sneaky good power. It's not bad. So the reason this fight scares me with Sam Alvey being so bad is that Michael Oleanjaychuk is coming down from 205. He's someone that we continually said should be at 185. When will he be at 185? He'll be a killer. Well, he's doing it now, and we've never seen it. So it's hard to bet him as a minus 600 favorite when we've never seen him at this weight class. Oh, and all, he has sneaky good ground game. He's a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. He has pretty decent wrestling, and his striking's not bad. You saw it in his last fight against Dustin Jacoby. Yes, Dustin Jacoby would later go on to say he was hurt, but still, he came out and boxed with the Glory Kickboxer and didn't look half bad, even rocked Jacoby at one point. There are people that move forward, and there are people that pressure you. Michael pressures. This dude does not, he's never taken a backward step in the octagon or in life. This dude doesn't know how to step backwards. Forward, forward, forward. Sam Alvey likes to counter and move backwards, backwards, backwards. So to the judge's eyes, it's going to look very good on Michael's side. Only problem is he slows too. So I don't want him to gas out trying to wrestle Sam Alvey, because that's a tough route to beat Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey can wrestle. Do I want him to strike with Sam Alvey the whole time? I think he could out-volume him, but we've never seen him at 185. Is that cut going to affect his gas tank? It's already bad at 205. Is it going to be Terence Mckinney level bad at 185? We don't know. That is too sketchy at a minus 600 favorite. If I'm betting anything, I'm probably going to take the under, because when you look at all of Michael's wins, he's a round one win. He had a decision win over Bukakis, which is interesting. But then he had a first round win, first round win, first round win, first round decision, nice. Second round, first round. They're all in the first or second round. Literally all of his wins outside of 2 decisions. So he's someone that likes to, he's there for a good time, not a long time. So all in all, I'm just scared of the weight cut. But if you're going to bet anything, I would just bet the under. If he goes in and pressures and Sam catches him with this sneaky power, cool. He goes out, Sam wins, and rides off into the sunset. If Mikey O comes out and just kills him and deads him in round 1, cool. We get paid that way too. And it's plus money for the under 1.5. So we're just going to chase a little if we bet this. Pick is going to be Michael, but the bet would be the under to try to get some plus money. Next fight of the night is another one I just want to stay the hell away from. And Ariana Lipski at minus 170, going up against Priscilla Cachoera at plus 145. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 195. Under 2.5 at plus 160. This fight is just as fucking sketchy. Lipski sucks. She's not good. Solely on the fact that her ground game is atrocious. It's one of the worst ground games I've ever seen in my life. When Antonina Shevchenko can take you down and finish you on the ground, you should be concerned. You should be petrified to go to the ground. She's also surprisingly hittable. I remember her throwing a ton of volume, and I sometimes get her confused with the aforementioned Diana Belbita. They kind of confuse me sometimes. They're both around the same age, the same look, same European vibe. Lipski is a little better, but she does not throw as much as Belbita does, so that's the difference there, and that's why she's hittable. She'll have a 2-inch reach advantage here, so I do like that. And she overall seems pretty durable. Yes, she has been knocked out back-to-back times in her losses, but those were both on the ground. She was taken down and it was ground and pounded, and against Antonina, it was a crucifix. So she didn't just go out there and get deaded. She just got caught in a bad position on the ground and got finished. So all in all, she seems awfully durable for someone that predominantly strikes. Her jiu-jitsu seems okay. For someone that isn't really good on the ground, when she's on top, she's one of these on top only submission artists to where she's on top of you. We saw the knee bar over Luana Carolina. That was a little fluky, but it is what it is. We see her arm bar the aforementioned Diana Belbita. She has some submissions on her record, so it's not like she doesn't know what's going on. It's just she prefers to be on top. Otherwise, her cardio seems to check out. It's just for someone that's that bad when you're on top of her, she has 55% takedown defense. That's really concerning. If she fights anyone within a semblance of wrestling, she is screwed. Good news is she's hot, so the UFC is booking her against someone who has the worst wrestling in the division, and Priscilla Cachoera. She sucks as well. Priscilla has, I think she has one takedown in her UFC tenure. She also has 66% takedown defense. So if Lipsky wanted to switch it up and take her down, she might want to, or might be able to. I believe she took Mandy Baum down in her last fight. So she kind of saw how it worked out and did it to someone else. Priscilla is very, very hittable. They call her Zombie Girl for a reason. She gets hit double the amount that she dishes out, almost triple. But she's someone that does, again, not just move forward. She pressures. She goes for you. She tries to take your head off. But she slows towards the end of the fight usually. And Lipsky does not. She has a ton of power. If she's gonna catch you, she's gonna put you out, and that's about it. Ask Gina Mazzani, ask Shayna Dobson. I mean, 40 seconds is 40 seconds. All of her wins against all the soccer moms over in her regional scene in Brazil. They all got knocked out pretty early here. She came in supposed to be a killer. They gave her Valentina. I don't know who signed off on that. They need to be immediately fired. Meatball Molly McCann came out and out wrestled her. That's concerning. Luana Carolina came out and crushed her. That's concerning. Yeah, I don't know. Her best wins against Ji-Yeon Kim, and I thought Kim won that fight. She doubled her up on strike. So what is Cachoeira good at? Power. Not even striking, just power. That's it. That's all I got. So I can't put money on her. I know Paul loves her. She keeps cashing tickets. I love dog shots. I love plus money. That's all I look for. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to pick Lipsky, but I will just have to succumb to the over here at the 2.5. So the pick is Lipsky. The bet's going to be the over 2.5. I'm not picking the side. I don't trust either one of these. I don't trust either one of these girls. So. Next fight of the night is a pretty weird one. It's one of these where everything makes sense for one person, but my gut is screaming, do not play it. And it's mind over matter, baby. We have Augusta Sakai at plus 220 going up against Sergey Spivak at minus 260. Over 2.5 plus 140, under 2.5 minus 175. It's the Spivak side that's freaking me the fuck out. Spivak, good wrestling, good cardio, sneaky good ground game, young, continually getting better, only 27 years old, which is like 21 in heavyweight years. My issue with him is that you can back him up a little. He doesn't seem to like to get hit, and his striking is not terrible, but he was getting outworked on the feet by Alessio Oleinik. That's concerning to me. I know like people like Verdum got outstruck by him. Alessi has his moments, and I know he did eventually get the win, but it did not look. I vividly remember having him as the lock of all locks on that card, and he gave me a heart attack losing the first round in a striking battle to Alessio Oleinik. That's not a good look, especially going up against someone like Sakai, who's actually very good on the feet. I think Sakai's striking is actually underrated. The issue with Sakai is that he has absolutely no grappling. If you take this man down, he's not getting up. We saw it against Alistair Overeem. We saw it to where he had nothing left. Yes, that was a 5-rounder, but ever since he lost, he just hasn't really looked the same. Rosenstruck, I would say he didn't throw much, but neither does Rosenstruck. It was a very, very boring. I don't know how that was a main event. It was a very boring main event until Rosenstruck eventually caught him with like 1 second left in the first. Taito Ivasa, I thought he looked fine round one. I remember having money on him in that fight as the dog, and he was doing all right as a dog, but I don't know. He just looked kind of off and slowed down. It's like Ty hit him one time and he kind of panicked. He just froze. As soon as he got touched, he just thought about getting knocked out his last 2 fights and just stopped. The good news is he's not going to have that issue with Spivak. So I'm petrified he's going to bull rush him. Because again, a lot of Spivak fight. Oh, Linnick was backing him up. Like Augustus Sakai is an athletic 285 pounds. Like he is athletic, or 265. It's shocking. You don't look at him and think athlete, but he is fast and he hits hard. And a lot of Spivak's losses are by knockout. The issue is Spivak against Greg Hardy is basically the same thing. An explosive striker, and he did not strike. He took Greg Hardy straight down to the ground, knowing he had no ground game, and beat the shit out of him. I don't see why he would have a different game plan. So the pick is going to be Spivak. The bet is going to be Spivak, but my gut is telling me Sakai has something up his sleeve. I don't know what it is. I'm petrified of this fight. I think I'm going to have to stay away. I think this is one where I'm just going to stay away, but if anything, I would take Spivak. The next fight, I am not staying away. I'm running headfirst into. We have Brogan Walker as a plus 100 dog going up against Juliana Miller at minus 120. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 140. Interesting. Under 2.5 minus 175. It literally made me stop and look and make sure I wrote that correctly. Yeah, man. Brogan Walker's phenomenal. I think Brogan Walker, there's a little bit of a misconception with Brogan Walker. They have striker versus grappler. That's what everyone thinks this fight is. Brogan Walker is a phenomenal striker. Juliana, great grappler. Who's going to win? And I said earlier in the breakdown, I will always take the wrestler or the grappler over the striker. Not in this instance, because Brogan Walker is not a striker. She is both. She is kind of like a Brian Battle, where she's a generalist, only she's pretty explosive on the feet for a 125-pound female fighter. She also has the experience. Juliana Miller has 3 professional wins. I know she does a lot of jiu-jitsu competitions. I know she had an extensive amateur career, but locked in a cage as a professional, 3 fights. Brogan Walker on the flip side, 9 fights, and against UFC vets. Like, she lost to Aaron Blanchfield. God, okay. Everyone's going to lose to Aaron Blanchfield, the future champ, the future GOAT. Pearl Gonzalez, not the greatest loss, but it was 3 years ago, and at least Pearl Gonzalez is a UFC vet. She has something to give. But then she fought before that Miranda Maverick. Now, I know it was 4 years ago, so Miranda Maverick was like 12, but Miranda Maverick is Miranda Maverick, and she went out there and kind of crushed her. My problem with Brogan is that she is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so I'm not scared of Juliana on the ground. My concern with Brogan is her cardio. I said earlier, I would love you to be a good wrestler and to have good cardio. I would say cardio is probably the most important thing. We saw it in that Hannah Guy fight. She started to gas in the second. The Laura fight, she started to gas a little, and Laura's she's not a flyweight. Laura's definitely a strawweight, just fighting up a weight class. So I am a little concerned with Brogan overall. She's 32 years old, so what we're seeing is the finished product. She's 33. Jesus. Okay. She's good. Don't get me wrong. Don't hear what I'm not saying. She's very, very good, and I think she should be the favorite. She has the experience. She has a striking advantage. Much to people not believing it, is a wash when it comes to the grappling, and she has good takedown defense, and Juliana can't wrestle. Juliana's great on the ground. I think Juliana is one is super, super good on the ground. Her striking, not so much. She's scrappy. I cannot think of who she's reminding me of, someone that just marches forward and gets hit all the time, but nonstop pressure. I cannot put the finger. I see the face. She kind of reminds me a little bit, crazy to say, of Luana Janjua, or Janjua, I can never say her name, the girl that Miranda Maverick, ironically enough, pieced up and elbowed to death. kind of looks like her, honestly. Just marches forward, very durable, keeps going forward, but keeps getting popped in the face. Like, she's not really offering a lot back. I don't think her striking is very good. I just thought she was super hittable. Is she going to get better? Yeah, she's 26. She can still improve. This is usually when you see the massive jumps. From like 26 to 30 is where you see like the big jump. And from like 28 to 31, I would see as like a big, your peak. She's durable. She gets hit a shit ton. That's how you know she's durable. Her cardio, great. She'll go for days. She will not stop moving. And that's the only part that scares me. My issue is these fights in the Apex, these fights on the Ultimate Fighter are 2 rounds until you hit the semifinals. The initial fights are 2 rounds. She won Brogan Walker. She only needs to win 2. That's all she needs. I don't think she's going to get tapped out by I don't think Juju's going to be able to take her out. I don't think she's going to be able to finish her. And I think Brogan Walker has at least 10 minutes of cardio in her. And we've seen her get tired in her Ultimate Fighter fights. And that's the other huge thing. Part of that cardio issue we saw in the very first fight could have been the fact that she had a knee injury. Everyone forgets in the house when she was fighting with the injury. She almost pulled out. She almost left. But the doctor said it's going to be uncomfortable, but you can fight through it. And she did. And she bounced around. She looked just as explosive. And everyone forgets that's a hurt Brogan Walker. Do not forget that point. Because if usually what a lot of people are saying are, well, Juju's just getting better. She's had months to prepare. And she's only going to get better at that age. That is 110%. They're saying Brogan Walker, that's the finished product. That's 100% accurate. That is factual. The issue is we didn't see Brogan Walker at 100%. We saw her with one leg. She's going to come back healthy, and I think she's going to kill Juju. I think this line is wrong. I think it's flipped, and I am all over Walker. I am going to bet a shit ton on Brogan Walker, and we're going to win a shit ton on Brogan Walker together. Pick is Brogan, bet 110% Brogan Walker. Next fight of the night, when I feel even more confident, we have Zach Poega going for the heavyweight title against Muhammad Usman in the Ultimate Fighter. Zach is a -240 favorite. Usman +200. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 -120. Under 2.5 -110. Yeah, you're seeing that last name Usman is correct. It is Kamaru Usman's little brother, the second best fighter on the planet. I think Volk right now is the best fighter on the planet, pound for pound. But second best, Usman, and it's his little brother. Problem is, it's his little brother, but he's 33. He's not young. This is the finished product, and the product I'm seeing is ass. His striking is all right at best, pretty low volume, kind of hittable. He's not good. He can try to wrestle, and he uses his explosion. He will try to take you down, and he can shoot an extreme blast double. Not a lot of control time. Can't do anything with it. His wins, very suspect. Losses, very suspect. Brandon Sales is ass. His win against Mitchell, I thought he could have lost it, but he won via unanimous. I thought he might have lost. Eduardo Perez split. I thought he kind of lost. But again, that last name Usman is just going to carry weight. And the funny thing is, the first guy he fought, Mitchell, said he doesn't hit hard. And it makes me think he's one of these Sean Shirk types to where they're jacked as hell, but they have no knockouts because they don't actually hit that hard. Yeah, you're going to knock out Dante Harrell, who's 1-3. Or he Kimura him. He didn't even knock him out. You're going to knock out Dan Palicio. Cool. You didn't knock anyone else out. Alexis Garcia in Titan FC. Like, yeah, you can get some knockouts on the regional scene against some bums because they're giving you easy targets. There's no dodging in the UFC. Everyone outside of Dontel Mays is good. Oh, shit. He already fought Dontel Mays and lost. Just more reason to not bet this man. I know you see a plus number next to the last name Usman. Don't fall for the trap. The real answer is Zach, because I think Zach is very good. I don't think Zach is in the right weight class. You see a lot of his fights at light heavyweight, but you see a lot of speed against heavyweights, man. He looks very, very fast, very, very crisp. His fights in the Ultimate Fighter, he looked absolutely phenomenal. He crushed Niles, who was a wrestler, and Niles is a better wrestler than Muhammad, and he was just fine there. He crushed Jordan Hireman, knocked him out. I think Jordan Hireman might be a better striker than Muhammad. So I don't really understand where Muhammad wins this fight. Dude fights at team, he trains with Team Elevation, and both of these guys, it's their debut. And you would say, well, I can't really trust him at minus 250. It's his first ever fight in the octagon. He was at a UFC event. I can't remember what card it was. I think it was UFC London. God, I can't remember who it was. It was the Chris Curtis card. Yep, or not Chris Curtis. Well, yeah, it was the Curtis Blades card. He's at Team Elevation. He was there in the corner. He saw what it was like. He was there for the atmosphere. And this fight is in the Apex. So not only has he seen and been in the UFC octagon, he's been in this particular octagon. These are where the Ultimate Fighter fights were. He's fine. It's going to be a similar vibe, and he's going to crush it. He's going to kill it. I don't know where he loses this fight. He has a better cardio. He has a better hands. He has a better wrestling. He has a better striking, better ground game, more experience. There's nothing I don't like about this kid. Pick is going to be Zach. Bet is going to be Zach, 110%. Probably all my parlays. And that takes us to the co-main event of the evening. We have Vicente Luque at minus 190 going up against Jeff Neal at plus 160. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 105. Under 2.5 minus 125. That's a weird line to me. I don't know what to do with that. I don't really know what to do with this fight. We'll start with Luque because he's someone that I don't know if he's actually that good, in all honesty. We saw him get absolutely dismantled on the ground by Bilal Muhammad. Honestly, we should have saw it coming. His takedown defense was not good going into that fight, and now it's even worse. Now it's at like 60%. I want to say it was at like 65 or 68 or something. Now it's at 60 because we saw someone actually utilize a wrestle-heavy game plan. You can't really stuff him. He's good. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's very good on the ground. But his get-up game isn't the greatest. Muhammad got 5 takedowns. It was a 5-round fight. He got 1 takedown per fight. Stayed there. That's it. Literally it. On the flip side, Luque does have pretty good striking. It's very good. It's just he's a little bit hittable. He's pretty kill or be killed, but his chin has not given out on him yet. But he's another one of these guys that you see rocked once in a while. And once he starts getting put out, it's going to start happening frequently. He has high volume, always goes forward. And for now, we'll say he's durable. So he's all in all kind of a generalist outside of no wrestling. His cardio, 3-round cardio for days. He has very, very good cardio. The dude's good, but he's also older. We've seen his final form as well. He's 30. He's 30 at this point. That's it. Luque is 30 years old. God, how young was he on the Ultimate Fighter? Jesus. God, I was not expecting that. But all in all, he's an okay fighter. I don't think he should. I think he's top 10, but he's just has gatekeeper written all over him. I don't think he'll ever be better than like number 8. That's probably his max. On the flip side, Jeff Neal, I think he's a little overrated as well. Yes, he's showing a ton of knockout wins. He's a pretty good striker, ton of power. He's a little hittable. He's a little more hittable than I had expected. Santiago was able to piece him up a little bit. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, of course, beat the shit out of him, but I can't believe he's older than Luque. 85% takedown defense. So Luque has a huge grappling advantage, but Luque, 1, doesn't wrestle. 2, won't be able to because Neal's 85% takedown defense. He's at Fortis MMA, which is a pretty good camp. I guess he'll be training with Usman, so hopefully none of that Usman rubs off on him. All in all, I don't know, man. It's just a weird fight. I don't know. He won a fight going backwards. It was a split decision over Santiago. The way I look at it is I tried the main 3 fights. I watch a ton of fight tape, but the most I watch, the most important ones to me are their first fights, because no matter who you are, the way you fight in one of your first fights are what you feel comfortable in. So I want to know, what is your backup? What is your go-to? Secondly, I want to look at one where their most recent fight. How did they look most recently? How was their weight cut? How was anything like that? And then 3, I'm not looking for a common opponent. I'm looking for a similar opponent. And when I look at Luque, I look at someone with pretty decent striking, always moves forward, pretty durable. Jeff Neal just fought that in Santiago Ponzinibbio. No difference on the feet. Not a shit ton of power. It can knock you out, but you're not absolutely petrified. Does not stop going forward. Throws decent leg kicks. marches forward, same reach advantage. Like, he fought Vicente Luque already. Only thing is Luque's better on the ground, but newsflash, this ain't hitting the ground. So we've seen this fight, and Jeff Neal won. But Jeff Neal won a pretty greasy split decision while being backed up the entire time. Now, he won it, and when you go back and watch the fight, I remember thinking that Santiago won. I had money on Neal that night. I knew it was 50-50. I'm just taking the dog, whoever it is. Neal came through. I said, cool. I rewatched the fight. I definitely see Neal's side now. But I still see Santiago's side. I think it's 50-50. I would have been fine with either decision. This has it written all over it again. So the way I feel most comfortable is probably the over. Over 2.5 at -105. That I don't want to get into this greasy split decision territory. So the pick is going to be Luque. The bet, if you want the value's all on Neal. +160, it's all Neal value. But the safest route would probably be the over 2.5. I don't hate it, and I think it's a sneaky good bet with the value there. And then that takes us to the main event. Make sure, again, you give this video a like, hit that subscribe button. We have platforms over on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. Stats and Stacks podcast is taking over the world, baby. But again, we're going to go into the main here. We have Thiago Santos as a +230 dog going up against Jamal Hill at -275, and that line is moving. Last time I checked, Jamal Hill was a 3-1 favorite. Over under set at 2.5. Interesting. Over 2.5 +130. Under 2.5 -160. Let's start with Jamal Hill because he confuses me. I was notorious for saying just take the over. He's not a potent power puncher, but I mean his win over Jimmy Crute is big. I think knocking out Jimmy Crute in 50 seconds is really, really big. Johnny Walker, not so much. He's a little chinny. OSP, it was more of a TKO based on volume against an old man. Not really much you're going to do there. And then that's it. Contender series, he won with elbows from the mount. Darko was able to go the distance. Paul Craig ate some of his shots, and he's kind of chinny. Daquan Townsend he went to a decision with. That's not a good look. Like, he was in a lot of decisions to start. Decision, then knockout, then decision, then knockout, then decision. Like, he's not a potent power puncher. Like, you see these guys at 205 and you just think, oh, they cracked it, you're going out. I still don't feel that way about Jamal Hill. I think he can put you out. I think his best quality is his volume. This dude throws a ton of volume. His wrestling, not greatest. He has like 60% takedown defense, but unlike Luque, his get-up game is good. If you take him down, he is popping up, and he has great cardio for 205. The dude can punch for days. He does not stop. His striking is actually good, and he'll even have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. I think the fact that he throws so much volume and has great cardio, it's just it's just helps him so much. It's to his detriment. And especially Santos can't even wrestle. I will say Santos 110% is a black belt and has the better jiu-jitsu game, but he doesn't wrestle. I don't know the last time Santos got a takedown in the UFC. So if this is a standing affair, I definitely lean the Hill side. The only actual concern I would have is, one, Santos standing in front of that man is scary. I mean, look at him. He's kind of petrifying. This is even before he has the huge hammer on his chest. He comes out to machete all the time. Like, the dude's crazy. He hits like a truck. Probably one of the hardest punchers we've seen in the UFC. The issue is he's not a 205 pounder, and this fight's at 205. He used to fight at welterweight. He had a lot of success at middleweight. He fought for a title at light heavyweight, but he's not really a light heavyweight, man. He's just getting old. He's 38 years old, man, coming off of 2 knee injuries. He knocked out former champion Jan Blachowicz. Nice. He's knocked out Eric Anders. He beat Eric Anders. He beat Kevin Holland. He knocked out Anthony Smith. He knocked out Jack Hermanson. He knocked out Gerald Meerschaert, which is kind of easy. Nate Marquardt. Like, he has a lot of good wins on his record. The issue is these are all lighter weight classes. So then you move up, and the biggest one he has is Jan Blachowicz. But Jan started to come on in that fight when I went back and watched it. Jan was coming back a little bit because Thiago does have 5-round cardio, but it's because he doesn't throw that much. He's been very, very low volume since he has not been the same man since the John Jones fight, period. You can't be That was 2019. So that was 3 years ago. If you're 35 and you lose both your ACLs, both your meniscus, both your PCLs, I had that injury. I literally, in 2018, tore my ACL, MCL, PCL, and meniscus. I tore all the things that he did. I know what that feels like. They gave me a fucking handicap sticker for 5 years. Like, the shit is a serious injury. This man came back and tried to fight, God, a year later. He's not going to look the same. It's not easy. My leg still gives me issues sometimes when I play basketball. Like, it is not easy to do so. I feel for the man. I get it. And I mean, I'm 29. This dude's 38. So it's really not easy on his front. But God, he has ungodly power and decent cardio. So I've never seen Jamal Hill go 5 rounds. That is a mystery. But certain people you just look at and you go, it's not going to be an issue. Like, if Jamal Hill is just not someone that's going to have an issue going 5 rounds. So you look at like a Brandon Royval, or you look at like a Bilal Muhammad. Are they going to have issues going 5 rounds with their cardio? Absolutely. Clay Guida, like, no way. They'll be fine. And I think Jamal Hill is going to be fine. The better striking, the 3-inch reach advantage, the possible power. Like, yes, Thiago's pretty durable, but he has been knocked out before. Pick is going to be Hill. Bet is going to be Hill, because it's a great opportunity to hedge. I am team hedge all day. Some people are ride or die. They hate it. I love hedging. And if you give me plus 200 and up, if you give me plus 150 and up, I'm going to hedge. And I'm just going to put a lot down on the dog. You're giving me plus 230 on Thiago Santos, who cracks. Give me Hill in every single one of my parlays. Whichever one is surviving, I am hedging, baby. So the pick is Hill, bet is Hill, but you bet your ass you better hedge Santos. And that's UFC Vegas 59. Again, if this is your first one, I appreciate it. Again, I already have the picks up on Twitter. I'm going to post them on TikTok in a little bit. They're over up on Instagram. I appreciate the time. I appreciate Max Roscoff. I appreciate Dogger Pass Podcast with Paul and Cody and Pat. I appreciate all the love that I've been getting as of late. I'm hoping to be able to reciprocate it by winning you even more money. We've been on a heater lately. So let's keep winning together, baby. Let's crush it.